Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever truly stopped to consider the sheer genius hidden within the animal kingdom? I mean, not just in their biology, but in their incredible feats of engineering.
It's pretty staggering when you get right down to it.
Yeah. Imagine sophisticated structures,
Yeah.
perfectly adapted to their environment, built without a single modern tool. It's not just remarkable, it's a profound blueprint for problem solving.
It really is astonishing. We, as humans, we often pat ourselves on the back for our architectural innovations,
Oh,
right?
constantly.
But the natural world has been perfecting principles of design, sustainability, material science for millions of years.
Yeah.
And what's truly surprising, I think, is that these animal-built structures offer far more than just lessons in survival. They actually reveal deep insights into cognitive development, complex learning processes.
Absolutely. And that's really our mission today. We're embarking on a deep dive into this fascinating world of animal architecture. We're going to try and unravel the incredible diversity of structures animals build, maybe peer into the complex learning processes that underpin these constructions.
Which are often more complex than you'd think.
Exactly. And here's where it gets truly captivating to me.
Yeah.
We'll explore how these ingenious natural designs have not only inspired, but literally shaped human innovation for centuries.
Yeah, and to guide our exploration, we've gathered insights from some, well, truly groundbreaking research. We'll be drawing from detailed studies on orangutan nest development, which is fascinating in itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Some surprising new analyses into bird nest building intelligence, challenging old ideas there.
Right.
And of course, a look at how these fundamental animal construction principles are directly reflected in some of humanity's most iconic architectural marvels.
So it's quite a journey.
It is. It's a journey that will hopefully illuminate just how sophisticated and adaptable nature's builders truly are.
Okay, so let's unpack this from the ground up. When I say the word nest, what immediately springs to mind for you?
Well, the classic image, right?
Yeah, for most people, it's probably that iconic image of a bird's nest, perfectly woven, maybe perched high in a tree. But the truth is, that's just a tiny glimpse of a much, much larger picture.
You're spot on. While birds are certainly, star players in the realm of nest building, the scientific definition of a nest is wonderfully expansive.
Okay.
At its core, it's basically any structure built by an animal primarily to hold and protect its eggs or its live offspring.
Simple definition, but broad implication.
Exactly. This simple yet powerful definition broadens our scope to an incredible array of builders. We're talking everything from invertebrates
Right.
to members of every single vertebrate class. And that includes, maybe surprisingly for some, even great apes.
Great apes building nests. We'll definitely come back to that.
Oh, we will.
And the sheer functional diversity of these structures, that's what truly captivates me. These aren't just quaint little homes, are they?
Not at all. Nests serve a multitude of critical purposes, fundamental to survival and propagation. They're often meticulously engineered to protect against wild temperature fluctuations.
Which is vital for eggs or newborns.
Absolutely vital, especially for delicate developmental stages. They play a non-negotiable role in successful reproduction, often providing crucial thermoregulation for young ones who are, too immature to regulate their own body temperature yet.
Right, they need that external help.
And, of course, the obvious things. Indispensable shelter from the relentless elements, and a pretty formidable defense against predators in many cases.
So protection, warmth, safety, the basics.
The core functions, yeah. But beyond these foundational roles, some nests exhibit even more specialized functions. We see remarkable examples designed specifically to offer protection against parasites.
Ah, interesting. Like hygiene built in.
Kind of, yeah. Significantly enhancing the health and long-term survival prospects of the offspring. And let's not overlook the often underestimated aspect of comfort.
Comfort for animals.
Absolutely. A well-constructed nest can dramatically improve the overall well-being and reduce stress for its inhabitants. And that leads to healthier, more robust development. It's a blend of engineering and, well, maybe a touch of luxury, you could say.
Nature's little comforts.
Okay.
So it's clear then that nest is a wonderfully broad term.
Yeah.
But you mentioned apes versus birds. There's a key distinction there,
A
right?
fundamental distinction, yes.
Yeah.
When we compare great ape nests to those of birds, birds, generally speaking, construct their nests primarily as incubators for their eggs and as nurseries for their young. And often their young are altricial.
Altricial, meaning helpless.
Pretty much, yeah. Born in a helpless, entirely dependent state requiring extensive parental care. Think baby birds in a nest, mouths open, waiting for food.
Got it. So the nest is everything to them initially.
Precisely. Bird nests are essentially the biological equivalent of a high-tech incubator and a safe, sheltered nursery, often for incredibly vulnerable young. Great ape nests, however,
Yeah.
they serve a fundamentally different primary function.
Which is?
They are almost exclusively beds.
Beds.
Okay.
These are routinely constructed, sometimes multiple times a day for daytime naps.
A siesta nest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But most critically, every single night for rest. It's a completely different rhythm, a different purpose, and therefore a different set of design constraints.
Right. A bird's nest is maybe a one-off for the season, but an ape is building daily.
Daily or nightly. It's a long-term investment for a bird's breeding cycle versus an ape's temporary nightly creation.
And this brings us to a really compelling point about the cognitive abilities involved. You mentioned nests as a form of material technology. What does that mean for apes?
Well, for great apes, building these nightly arboreal platforms involves an incredibly precise and, frankly, intelligent manipulation of vegetation.
It's not just piling leaves.
Oh, definitely not. They're selecting specific branches, bending them, weaving them, interlocking branches and leafy twigs to create a structurally sound resting platform. And remember, this platform needs to support their substantial body weight, often high up in the canopy.
That takes some serious engineering skill, surely.
Mhm.
It does. And what's truly compelling here is the mounting evidence suggesting that the construction of great ape-night nests, and maybe even some intricate bird nest structures, involves complex sequences of object manipulations.
Like tool use.
Very much akin to tool use, yes. This isn't merely random foraging or piling stuff up. It exhibits a level of combinatorial intelligence, showcasing a considerable degree of cognitive ability.
Can you give an example?
Think about the multi-step process involved when a chimpanzee cracks a nut with a stone tool, selecting the right stone, the right anvil, the right angle.
Right. It's a sequence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The same kind of sequential, goal-oriented manipulations and understanding of material properties seem to be at play when an orangutan builds its nightly bed. They're engineering, not just instinctually reacting.
Okay, so who's the mastermind behind these incredible designs then? If it's not just pure instinct, is it all learned or?
Well, in a very broad sense, you could say natural selection is often the grand designer acting over millennia.
Ah, the evolutionary architect.
Kind of. We can understand nests as prime examples of what biologists call extended phenotypic effects.
Extended phenotypic effects. Okay, break that down.
It's an intriguing concept. It basically means that certain aspects of an animal's nest construction are direct physical manifestations of its genes, but they extend the influence of those genes beyond the physical body of the animal itself.
So the nest is like an external part of its genetic expression.
In a way, yes. It's shaped by evolutionary pressures, just like its body is. The nest becomes an external expression of its genetic programming.
And the pressure is? Build a good nest or your kids don't make it.
That's a crucial part of it. The selective pressure on nest quality is incredibly intense. Individuals who consistently build stronger nests, or nests that offer superior insulation for eggs and chicks against, say, cold nights or hot days, or nests that provide more effective concealment and protection against predation, well, they inherently have a higher probability of successfully raising more offspring.
Survival of the fittest nest builder.
Essentially, yes. These better builder genes, if you will, are then more likely to be passed down through generations, becoming more abundant in the gene pool over evolutionary time.
Yeah.
And this fundamental principle of differential reproductive success, that explains the astonishing variety we observe in materials used and the intricate architectural designs across myriad species. Each one is perfectly sculpted by millennia of natural selection to its specific environmental challenges and its ecological niche.
But it's not always just about raw survival, is it? I seem to recall something about showing off.
Yes. Sexual selection. It also plays a fascinating and often surprising role in nest construction for certain species.
Like the weaverbirds.
Exactly. Take the flamboyant male weaverbirds. They painstakingly construct their elaborate, intricately woven nests before they've even secured a mate.
So the nest is the pickup line.
It's essentially a grand physical resume, a tangible display of their fitness, their building prowess, their genetic quality.
Check out my awesome weaving skills.
Pretty much. Studies on male bioweavers, for example, have revealed a direct correlation between nest quality and mating success. Researchers found that the number of female visits to an incomplete nest was actually a strong predictor of whether that nest would eventually be completed and ultimately chosen.
So the females are inspecting the work in progress.
They are, and they're picky. They didn't just pick any nest. They showed a clear, measurable preference for nests built higher up, connected to thinner, more flexible branches, maybe indicating better predator deterrence.
Makes sense. Harder for snakes or whatever to reach.
Right. And significantly, they preferred nests that were more neatly and tightly woven.
Quality craftsmanship matters.
It directly links the structural and aesthetic quality of the nest to a male's reproductive success. It showcases how profound the influence of sexual selection can be on these complex, seemingly utilitarian behaviors. Form and function aren't always separate in nature.
That's incredible. It really makes you wonder what kind of human-built structures would serve as a mating display for us. Maybe a really well-organized garage.
Huh. Perhaps, or maybe just a really nice house.
Okay, with that foundation laid, let's zoom in on one of nature's most impressive and perhaps surprising architects, the orangutan.
Yes. The great apes.
Specifically, the Sumatran orangutans, Pongo abelii. These are apparently the most prolific and skilled nest builders among all the great apes. That makes them a prime subject for studying this remarkable behavior, right?
They are indeed an ideal model. Their entirely arboreal lifestyle living up in the trees means their nests are not just a convenience, they absolutely must be incredibly secure and structurally sound.
Because they're big animals sleeping high up.
Exactly. Imagine a large, heavy orangutan needing to sleep soundly, high up in a tree canopy, maybe through heady storms. That nest better be engineered to perfection. It needs to support significant weight and resist environmental forces. The stakes are literally life or death every night.
And this leads us to a crucial point, one that sort of challenges a long-held assumption. For many species, insects, spiders, maybe even rodents, nest building has traditionally been viewed as purely instinctive.
Right, like it's just hardwired from birth.
Exactly. But for great apes, and actually increasingly for many bird species too, it seems it's fundamentally a learned skill.
This is a huge distinction, not just a nuance, it's profound. It speaks volumes about their cognitive capabilities.
And we have solid evidence for this learning hypothesis.
We do. Compelling, multifaceted evidence. Consider studies on captive-born chimpanzees. When you compare them to their wild-born counterparts, they spent very little time even attempting to build nests.
Really?
Yeah, and when they did try, they used far less advanced techniques. Like instead of expertly weaving branches together, they might just kind of tuck them under themselves.
All right, effective.
Not really, but what's even more revealing is the comparison between mother-reared chimps in captivity and those raised in human-led nurseries.
Okay.
The mother-reared individuals consistently demonstrated significantly superior building skills.
So seeing mom do it makes all the difference.
It directly underscores the critical importance of observational learning, mimicry, maybe even some direct teaching from a skilled role model in mastering this complex behavior. It's not just innate knowledge, It's arguably cultural transmission of skills.
So it's not enough to simply know how instinctively. They need to be shown how, and then they need to practice, practice, practice.
Exactly. This brings us to a concept some researchers call the needing to learn hypothesis.
Okay, what's that?
The core idea is that for immature individuals, especially those from species that don't live in stable permanent groups, meaning they can't rely indefinitely on others for knowledge or protection.
Like orangutans, which are quite solitary as adults.
Precisely. For them, they absolutely must have mastered all essential subsistence skills by the time they reach independence. And for orangutans, that non-negotiably includes the competence to construct functional day nests and, crucially, night nests. It's not a luxury, it's a prerequisite for independent survival.
And this mastery doesn't happen overnight. How long does it take?
Well, as our sources meticulously detail, it isn't something that unfolds in a few weeks or months. It's a multi-year learning journey. A true, protracted apprenticeship in arboreal architecture that spans a significant portion of their youth.
Oh, how early do they start?
Infants, remarkably, begin showing active interest in nest materials as early as 6 months of age.
6 months? What are they doing?
You can picture them maybe adding stray leaves and twigs to their mother's nest, playfully bending and breaking small branches, even making those initial, probably quite clumsy, attempts at forming the crucial circular nest foundations.
Like a toddler trying to use tools, maybe.
Exactly like that. It's critical early developmental practice. Then, by around 1 year of age, these young orangutans begin constructing their very first rudimentary day nests.
Day nests first. Why those?
Probably lower stakes. Think of them as initial practice swings. They're often not fully functional, maybe just a small platform, but vital for developing those motor skills, figuring out how branches bend and weave.
Okay, so practice makes perfect.
Well, practice leads to competence eventually. The real cognitive and physical challenge, though, comes with constructing night nests.
Because they have to last all night and support their weight.
Exactly. They're far more structurally demanding and need to be more comfortable. Attempts at these more complex structures typically begin around 2.8 years old.
That's still pretty young.
Yeah, but these early night nests are usually not robust enough for actual sleeping. The stakes are considerably higher for a structure that needs to provide secure, comfortable rest for an entire night.
When did they really ramp up the practice?
The researchers noted that the highest point of nest building practice, in terms of sheer frequency and engagement with materials, is consistently observed around ages 3 to 4 years. That seems to be the peak period of intense skill acquisition.
So they're not just playing, they're intensely training during this crucial window.
You could definitely see it that way. And then interestingly, as they approach nutritional independence, which for orangutans is typically around 8 years of age.
8 years? That's a long childhood.
It is. As they approach that point, these intense practice rates steadily decrease.
Why? Because they've mastered it.
That's the interpretation. The decline is seen as a clear indicator that by this significant developmental milestone, the core nest-building skills are largely mastered. They are now competent, independent builders.
But maybe not quite adult level yet.
Right. Their nests might still exhibit subtle differences in structural integrity or material selection compared to inexperienced adults. There's still refinement happening.
But here's something fascinating I read. Even when they can build a decent night nest, they don't always sleep in it alone right away.
That's a truly fascinating nuance, isn't it? Even when they are fully capable of constructing a functional night nest, the data shows immatures don't typically spend the entire night sleeping solo in their own nest until they're around 6.6 years old, on average.
So for years after they can build it, they're still sometimes sleeping with mom.
Or at least starting the night in their own and ending up with mom. Field observations often reveal this behavior described as nest hopping.
Nest hopping, I love that.
They might initially start the night in their own meticulously built nest, but then sometime in the dark hours, they'll move over to their mother's nest. Or they might even just wake up in their mother's nest after having started the night in their own. It suggests a lingering dependency, perhaps beyond just needing shelter.
That's utterly remarkable. So even when they possess the physical and cognitive ability to build it, there's a significant delay before they fully commit to sleeping solo.
What do researchers speculate is behind that? It suggests something beyond just skill.
Yeah, it's thought to be a multifaceted, gradual process. It's likely influenced by a complex interplay of physical maturation, ongoing cognitive development, perhaps physiological needs like warmth, and even emotional readiness.
Emotional readiness,
Like,
comfort and security.
exactly. Delaying total nocturnal separation could be highly adaptive from a survival standpoint. Think about thermoregulation. Sharing a nest with mom provides crucial warmth and conserves energy during cooler nights, which is especially important for a growing body.
Right, saves them burning calories just staying warm. It also likely reduces stress and maybe provides continued immunological support, allowing their developing immune systems to mature further without the added burden of complete self-sufficiency.
So the nest building skill develops, but the actual use of that skill for full independence is tied to all these other developmental factors.
Precisely. It highlights that the development of a seemingly isolated skill like nest building is deeply intertwined with the broader trajectory of their overall physical and psychological maturation.
Okay, speaking of complexity, let's delve into what researchers term multi-step nest features. These sound like the advanced stuff.
They are. These are the sophisticated additions, the elements that elevate a basic functional platform into a truly optimized habitat. We know day nests are generally simpler, smaller, faster to build, fewer layers.
Quick nap spots.
Right. Night nests, as we discussed, are the critical ones. They have greater non-negotiable requirements for thermoregulation, structural integrity, and long-term comfort.
So what are these multi-step features?
They include some really impressive techniques. One is constructing multi-tree nests.
Multi-tree, using more than one tree.
Yes, where an orangutan skillfully connects and integrates branches from multiple adjacent trees to form a single, expansive, and incredibly stable structure. Imagine the planning involved.
Wow, that's complex. What else?
Then there are the additional comfort elements. These are ingenious linings, maybe creating pillows or blankets fashioned from specific leafy twigs.
Seriously, pillows and blankets.
Well, that's the anthropomorphic term, but they deliberately add soft, leafy material for comfort. Or even rudimentary roofs woven over their resting spot, perhaps for rain or sun protection.
Amazing.
And finally, there are the nuanced twig adjustments. This involves precisely manipulating twig ends with their mouth, almost like fine-tuning a piece of material, maybe breaking it to a specific length or angle, before seamlessly incorporating it into the nest's structure.
So, real detail work.
It demonstrates foresight, a deeper understanding of material properties. These actions go well beyond what's strictly necessary for just a basic functional nest.
And I assume the youngsters don't master these advanced techniques right away.
That's right. The developmental trajectory for these multi-step features is quite distinct and telling. Immature orangutans are consistently observed to be significantly less likely to construct those complex multi-tree nests or to include those additional cognitively demanding comfort elements compared to their mothers.
So what explains that delay? Is it just harder?
Several factors seem to converge. Firstly, the heightened cognitive demands. Constructing a multi-tree nest, for example, involves multiple sequential decision-making steps. It requires the ability to conceptualize and execute a complex plan.
Needs better working memory, planning skills.
Exactly. It places increasing demands on the developing working memory and executive functions of younger apes who simply haven't reached that level of cognitive maturity yet.
Makes sense. What else?
Secondly, there's the undeniable factor of physical strength. Pulling and bending large branches together from multiple trees to create a cohesive multi-tree nest requires considerable physical strength and leverage.
Stuff a little orangutan just can't manage.
Often beyond their capabilities, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we also observe that immatures tend to choose nesting sites higher up in trees where branches are inherently less supportive and more flexible. This makes complex, stable constructions even more challenging for their developing bodies.
It's fascinating how their cognitive and physical development are so tightly linked to their building skills. It's like expecting a child to build a complex Lego Technic model before they've mastered basic Duplo blocks.
That's a great analogy. And this developmental pattern actually mirrors what we observe in other complex skill acquisitions in orangutans, particularly foraging.
How so?
They typically master simpler food processing techniques like eating soft fruits before moving on to more complex, multi-step processing of difficult-to-access foods like hard-shelled nuts or fibrous bark that requires tools or specific extraction techniques.
Ah, okay. Simple first, then complex. It's a consistent pattern.
A consistent pattern of gradual, increasing complexity across various learned behaviors. It underscores a fundamental principle of skill development in highly intelligent animals.
What about those twig adjustments you mentioned? The fine-tuning.
That's a fascinating, albeit challenging, area of research. It's actually quite difficult for researchers to definitively distinguish between undirected oral twig biting, which might just be, trial and error exploration, or even just an idiosyncratic habit.
Like chewing on a pencil while thinking.
Sort of. To distinguish that from truly skilled, goal-oriented twig adjustment, where the ape is deliberately manipulating the twig for a specific structural purpose.
Hard to know their intent.
Very hard. And this inherent difficulty might be why researchers haven't yet found a clear age-dependent effect for this specific feature in their studies. It remains an intriguing area for future investigation, trying to get inside the mind of the orangutan architect.
So it's not just how they build, but equally important what they build with and where they source their materials. Orangutans aren't just grabbing any old branch, are they?
Definitely not. They are remarkably selective in choosing both their nest tree species and the specific vegetative materials they use. It's far beyond simply picking what's abundant nearby.
What are you looking for?
It seems they're discerning properties like wood density, the specific fracture behavior of branches, does it snap cleanly or bend, leaf size and pliability for comfort, and the overall architectural suitability of the tree itself. Does it have the right forks, the right structure to build on?
They're material scientists.
In a way, yes. And this material selectivity, much like their building skills, emerges gradually over their development. The range of tree species they're willing to use and the strength of their preference for certain optimal species demonstrably increases with age.
So moms know best, essentially.
Predictably, yes. Mothers demonstrate the largest and most refined lists of preferred tree species for nesting. Dependent immatures, interestingly, initially tend to use species that are simply more common and readily available within the general habitat.
Rather than the premium nest trees mom prefers.
Exactly. Rather than specifically seeking out those tree species that mothers have identified for their superior nest tree qualities.
And I bet there's a consequence to using the common stuff.
There is. Their early, less selective nests often fall apart faster or are less stable. It's direct feedback from the environment, use the wrong materials, and you might have an uncomfortable or even dangerous night.
Instant learning. Okay, that makes sense.
Absolutely. And what's even more insightful is that this material selectivity is consistently stronger and involves a narrower, more precise range of species for night nests compared to day nests.
Again, because night nests are more critical.
Precisely. Night nests need to be far sturdier, more stable, and provide reliable comfort for an extended, vulnerable period of sleep. They literally can't afford for them to fail mid-sleep.
So it sounds like the immatures are kind of playing it safe with their critical night nests.
Mm.
They stick to species they know are reliable, probably learned directly from watching mom, while simultaneously using their less critical day nests as opportunities for exploration, like trying out new materials.
That seems to be the pattern. Using day nests for trial and error with new, potentially less ideal tree species. And that exploratory behavior, not surprisingly, tends to increase as they gain more independence and venture further from their mother's immediate vicinity.
It's a remarkably intelligent adaptive learning strategy. It balances safety, sticking with known good materials for the important night nest, with innovation and learning through exploration in the less critical day nests.
It truly is. A beautiful example of developmental learning in action. Now, with that profound understanding of ape architecture under our belt, shall we shift our focus to the world of birds?
Let's do it, because the story there has also changed quite dramatically, hasn't it?
It really has. For a very long time, the prevailing scientific consensus, almost a dogma really, was that bird nest building was almost purely instinctive.
Just hardwired. They hatch knowing how to build the nest of their species.
That was the idea, a fixed, genetically programmed behavior executed without needing learning or significant cognitive input.
But even way back, someone doubted that.
Yes, even centuries ago, back in the 19th century, Alfred Russel Wallace, the co-discoverer of natural selection alongside Darwin, he expressed profound skepticism about this pure instinct theory. He argued, quite presciently, that this assumption simply lacked empirical proof and was, in fact, maybe even against proof, as he put it.
Ahead of its time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And today, modern scientific inquiry has indeed provided compelling new evidence that directly challenges this long-held hardwired view. It reveals a much more nuanced and, frankly, intelligent picture of bird nest building.
Okay, so what's the new evidence showing?
Contemporary research unequivocally shows that nest building in birds is far from a fixed, unchangeable behavior. It is remarkably experience-dependent and subject to learning.
Experience-dependent. How do they test that?
One key method is through deprivation experiments. These involve intentionally preventing young birds from gaining early experience with nesting materials.
So raise them without access to twigs and leaves.
Essentially, yes. And the results are incredibly telling. For instance, studies with hand-reared American robins found that despite multiple attempts as adults, they largely failed to construct robust, functional nests. They could manage to line a pre-made nest cup, but not build one from scratch properly.
Wow, so the instinct wasn't enough.
It seems not.
Yeah.
Similarly, canaries, another species studied, even when deprived of early material exposure, did manage to build what appeared to be a complete nest. However,
There's a however.
yes, they consistently produced poorer quality nests, less sturdy, maybe sloppier, compared to those canaries that had normal early experiences with materials. This suggests that the quality and the proficiency of building are directly tied to early learning and practice.
So it's clear they don't just have the genetic blueprint. They absolutely need the practice and the sensory experience to actually hone those skills, to become competent builders.
Precisely. And we see this principle manifest vividly in motor learning as well. Think about juvenile weaverbirds again.
The ones with the complex woven nests.
Exactly. Observers can see them visibly improve their material collection efficiency, getting better at finding and carrying the right strands of grass, and their intricate weaving proficiency through repeated practice.
So their first attempts aren't great.
Apparently, their very first nests are often quite crude, almost comical in their simplicity compared to an adult's. But with each successive attempt, they demonstrably get better, faster, and the structures become more sound. It's learning by doing.
And this learning goes beyond just getting better at the same thing over and over, right? There's individuality.
Yes, and this is fascinating. Researchers have discovered that the gross morphology, the overall shape and structure, and even the specific fine motor building actions of nests constructed by the same individual male weaverbird show surprisingly low repeatability from one nest to the next.
Wait, so the same bird doesn't build the exact same nest twice?
Apparently not, in terms of overall dimensions or precise sequence of actions. This is a critical finding because it strongly suggests they are not rigidly following a precise, hardwired genetic template. If it were purely genetic, you'd expect near-perfect copies each time.
Okay, that makes sense. But you said there was individuality.
Yes, here's where it gets really intriguing. While the overall structure varies, individual signatures or styles can, in fact, be detected in the texture and the fineness of the weaving in their nests.
Signatures, like an artist's style.
Kind of. It hints at the acquisition of unique individual building patterns, almost like an artist developing their own unique technique or brushstroke over time. It suggests a personal touch, an acquired pattern in their architecture.
That's a truly fascinating insight. This idea of a personalized style in avian architecture, amazing.
Okay.
But it's not just how they build. It's also about where they choose to build, right? That involves learning too.
Oh, absolutely. Birds exhibit incredibly strategic nest site selection, and these crucial decisions are demonstrably highly experience dependent. They're shaped by their past successes and failures.
So if things go wrong, they learn from it.
They do. Birds will actively modify their nest site choices based on their previous breeding outcomes. For instance, individuals who experienced an unsuccessful breeding attempt, maybe their eggs were eaten or the nest failed, they are significantly more likely to build their next nest in a completely new location or even choose a different type of vegetation altogether for the next try.
So they don't just keep trying the same unlucky spot.
Generally not. Studies on northern flickers and collared flycatchers, for example, have clearly shown this adaptive behavior. If a nesting site proved problematic or led to failure, they will often move on to a new locale for their next attempt. It's a clear case of learning from negative experience.
Seems like an entirely logical strategy, doesn't it? If a location didn't work out, why repeat the failure? Does this extend to figuring out why it failed? Like predation risk?
Yes, it does. This learning extends directly to predation risk assessment. Birds actively learn to associate specific nest sites or site characteristics with different levels of safety from predators.
How do we know that?
Well, after experiencing nest predation, some species, like Siberian jays, might adapt by choosing to build their subsequent nests in lower, denser vegetation, presumably for better concealment.
Okay, makes sense. Hide better next time.
But other species, like pinyon jays, demonstrate an even more sophisticated learning capability. They seem to be able to discriminate between different sources of nest failure.
Different sources, like predator versus bad weather.
Exactly. If predation occurred in an exposed site, they'll relocate to a more covered one. But if an environmental failure, like a storm destroying the nest, occurred in a covered site, they might then choose a more exposed, but perhaps structurally safer or better anchored, location next time.
Wow, that's showing remarkable adaptive flexibility. A deep understanding of cause and effect in their environment.
It really is. And birds aren't just selecting sites based on past events, they're also capable of structurally adapting their nests in direct response to perceived threats or specific environmental conditions at a chosen site.
Modifying the design itself? Like what?
Take house wrens, for example. They've been observed to build taller, more robust stick walls inside nest boxes that have larger entrance holes.
Like making it harder for a bigger predator to get in.
That seems to be the interpretation, yes.
Yeah.
A direct structural defense measure. Another remarkable example comes from rock wrens. They strategically vary the number of small stones they place around their cavity entrances. Now, this isn't just for structural integrity. It's been observed that these stones can actually amplify the sounds of approaching predators.
Amplifies sounds, like a little alarm system.
Exactly, acting as an ingenious early warning system, much like an acoustic tripwire. They are truly designing with defense in mind, modifying their structures based on perceived risk.
So these birds aren't merely building instinctively, they're actively designing, engineering, strategizing, learning from failure, assessing risk.
Yeah.
It's way more complex than the old view allowed.
Much more complex, but here's where things get truly fascinating and undeniably social.
Social learning, birds learning from each other.
Yes, in ways that maybe until relatively recently were thought to be largely exclusive to primates or other mammals. The power of social learning in avian nest building is turning out to be simply incredible.
Okay, give me an example.
Consider the case of kittiwakes, a species of cliff-nesting seabird. Researchers found something remarkable. When choosing a new nest site, they seem to prioritize information about their neighbors' successful breeding attempts over their own past failures at a site.
Wait, they care more about how the neighbors did than their own experience.
It appears so in some contexts. If their neighbors had a successful season in that area, kittiwakes were significantly more likely to return to the same general territory, even if their own previous attempt there had failed. It suggests they're using social cues, hey, it worked for them, to gauge site quality.
That's amazing, like crowdsourcing location reviews. Any other examples?
Yeah, prothonotary warblers also exhibit stronger site fidelity, sticking to the same area if their neighbors were successful, again demonstrating a reliance on social cues about the quality of the neighborhood, so to speak.
It's almost like a bird social network for real estate. Check each other's Zillow ratings. Does this cross species boundaries? Do they learn from different kinds of birds?
Sometimes, yes. There are fascinating examples of interspecific insights at play. Migratory flycatchers, for instance, have been observed paying close attention to the nest box choices of resident tit species.
So the migrants watch the locals.
They do, and they even seem to pay attention to the tit's relative success, maybe gauged by things like clutch size, how many eggs they laid. These flycatchers will then actively avoid nest box sites where tits were unsuccessful,
They're learning from the tits' failures.
demonstrating cross-species observational learning. And, in a rather amusing twist,
Oh.
the tits themselves seem to be well aware of these peeking flycatchers. Researchers have even observed tits attempting to actively hide their eggs from the inquisitive gaze of the flycatchers when they approach.
Hilarious. A bit of avian espionage and counter-espionage over prime real estate.
It's a truly dynamic, subtle interspecies interaction. We also see what can only be described as fashion in nest material selection sometimes.
Fashion, like trendy nest materials.
Kind of. Studies over a decade observed Baltimore orioles, kingbirds, and other species increasingly incorporating unnatural, brightly colored yarn into their nests. This wasn't random. It was a clear trend spreading through the population.
So one bird started using pink yarn, and others copied.
It looked very much like they were following the fashion set by their conspecifics. Similarly, blue tits have shown compelling evidence of social transmission in their choice of specific aromatic plant species to include in their nests, maybe for parasite control, maybe for comfort, but the choice of plant seemed to spread socially.
This provides even more evidence against the pure instinct theory. It suggests a fascinating cultural element, a learned preference that propagates socially, going way beyond simple genetic programming.
Exactly. It paints a much richer picture of avian intelligence and behavior.
Okay, so birds learn, they adapt, they copy. Now let's pivot slightly to a broader evolutionary narrative. How do different types of nest architecture correlate with overall ecological success in songbirds? You mentioned open versus domed nests earlier.
Right. Broadly speaking, we have these two main types of songbird nests. The familiar open nests, which are typically shaped like a cup or maybe just a flat platform.
Like a robin's nest.
Exactly. And then domed nests, which are fully enclosed structures, often spherical or purse-shaped, with a roof and usually a side entrance.
Like a wren's nest, maybe.
Yes, or a weaverbird's nest. Now, what's truly counterintuitive and frankly surprising from an evolutionary perspective is the finding about which type is older.
Okay, which one came first? I'd guess the simpler open cup.
That's what most people would guess. But the research suggests the ancestral nest type in passerines, the huge order of songbirds, was actually domed.
A complex one was first.
It seems so. The widespread trait of building an open nest, which seems simpler and is so common today, is actually a derived condition. It evolved later.
So birds lost the ability or the tendency to build roofs.
It looks like the transition from building domed nests to building open nests occurred repeatedly and independently across different songbird lineages. And it's now hypothesized that this shift was a key innovation.
A key innovation.
Yes.
Meaning it unlocked something important for them.
Exactly. Something that played a crucial role in the remarkable diversification and the huge ecological success of modern songbirds.
So the simpler open nest is the evolutionary advance, not the more complex, enclosed, domed one. That really does seem counterintuitive. Dome nests seem like they'd be better, more protection from predators, better insulation.
You're right, it is a paradox at first glance. Domed nests clearly offer benefits: enhanced predation reduction due to better concealment, superior thermal insulation for eggs and chicks. But
As always, a but.
this highlights an often overlooked cost associated with building those elaborate domed nests.
They take more effort.
Precisely. Species that build domed nests consistently spend significantly more time constructing them, and the completed nests are proportionally heavier relative to the builder's body size.
So it's a bigger investment in time and energy.
A considerably bigger energetic investment, which inevitably comes with trade-offs in their life strategy.
Okay, so efficiency and energy expenditure come into play.
Mhm.
What then were the specific advantages of switching to an open nest that outweighed the protection benefits of the dome?
The efficiency gain seems to be a major factor. Open nests take substantially less time to build, particularly when the construction is primarily undertaken just by the female, or maybe shared by a pair working quickly.
Less time building means more time for.
More time for other things, like foraging, or crucially for renesting. This accelerated build time offers a vital ecological advantage. It allows for more renesting opportunities within a single breeding season, especially if a first attempt fails.
So they can have more broods per year.
Potentially, yes, which directly translates to higher overall fecundity, meaning more offspring produced over a lifetime. That's a huge evolutionary advantage.
Okay, faster breeding cycles. What else?
Yeah. Beyond reproductive output, we also see correlations with range. Species with open nests tend to exhibit significantly larger geographical ranges and occupy broader thermal niches.
So they can live in more places, more climates.
It seems they're more adaptable in that sense, yeah, enabling them to colonize and thrive in a much wider array of diverse environments and climates compared to many domed nest builders.
And you mentioned something about cities earlier.
Yes, it appears that open nest builders are truly the urban pioneers of the avian world. Research indicates that they are remarkably more likely to successfully colonize and adapt to urban environments, even when you control for other confounding factors like their initial range size.
So there's something about the open nest strategy that helps them cope with human landscapes. Maybe the speed of building lets them exploit temporary opportunities.
That's a plausible hypothesis. They seem to possess a flexibility that allows them to thrive in these rapidly changing, human-modified landscapes where maybe domed nest builders struggle.
And does this translate to long-term survival, like extinction rates?
There's evidence suggesting that, too. In terms of long-term evolutionary success, open nesting clades, these are groups of related species, might even have demonstrably lower extinction rates compared to those clades that retained the ancestral domed nest-building strategy.
Wow, so the evolutionary path seems clear then.
The cutting-edge research suggests a compelling sequence. The transition in nest type from the resource-intensive domed form to the more efficient open form actually preceded the subsequent expansion into wider ecological niches and their broad geographical dispersal.
So changing the nest came first, and then they spread out.
That's the hypothesis. It indicates that evolving an open nest wasn't just a passive adaptation, but a crucial key innovation. It served as a fundamental prerequisite, something that fundamentally enabled the widespread ecological success and the subsequent massive geographical expansion that characterizes so many modern songbirds today. It wasn't just a change in architecture, it was a catalyst for a whole radiation of species.
Incredible. The humble open nest as a driver of evolutionary success.
So what does all of this incredible animal engineering from apes learning over years to birds evolving simpler but more effective nests, what does it mean for us, for human design, for our own architecture?
Well, it means that nature isn't just a source of aesthetic inspiration, though it certainly is that. It is quite literally the original architect. And we have an immense amount to learn from its perfected blueprints refined over millions of years.
We're just catching up, really.
In many ways, yes. Human architects, designers, engineers, they have consistently and wisely drawn profound inspiration from nature's myriad forms, its intricate systems, its efficient processes for millennia. Animal architecture, in particular, stands out as an exceptionally rich source of ingenuity.
And sustainability, I imagine.
Absolutely. It's a masterclass in sustainable technology. Animals demonstrate how to construct complex, functional, and durable structures using only naturally available, often locally sourced, often decomposable materials with virtually zero waste. It's the ultimate circular economy. The ultimate example of building with what you have, perfectly adapted to the local environment. Our sources categorize these animal structures into a few main types, which helps make sense of the diversity.
Right. It's useful to break it down. First, we have what are called anatomical structures.
Anatomical, meaning part of their body.
Essentially, yes, where animals secrete or grow the materials that then form or become their habitats. Think of a larva forming a pupa or a cocoon from its own silk secretions, or the absolute marvel of spiders spinning their incredibly intricate silk webs.
Which aren't just sticky traps, right?
Oh, far from it. They are complex tensile structures. Spider silk is one of the most efficient and strong materials, pound for pound, in the natural world, and it's produced directly from the spider's body. That's anatomical architecture.
Okay, what's next?
Then we move to constructive structures. These are more what we typically think of structures built by individuals or maybe small cooperative groups using external materials gathered from the environment.
Like bird nests.
Classic examples, yeah. Bird nests, meticulously crafted from a diverse array of mud, clay, grass, sticks, leaves. Each material chosen for specific properties like strength, flexibility, insulation.
Got it. Then there are bigger projects.
Indeed. Moving up in complexity, we find social constructive structures. These are built collaboratively by entire, highly organized groups or colonies, often on a massive scale relative to the builders.
Ah, like beehives, termite mounds?
Exactly. Think of the breathtaking complexity and geometric precision of beehives, the towering, self-regulating termite mounds that can dwarf a person, or the vast subterranean networks of anthills. Social engineering on a grand scale.
And finally, temporary ones.
Right, temporary structures. These are built for a limited, often transient period and typically use readily decomposable materials. Things like a spider's simple retreat web, or coming back to our apes, an orangutan's nightly sleeping nest. They fulfill a specific short-term need and then seamlessly return to the ecosystem.
Different strategies for different needs.
Yeah.
And the raw materials these builders use, they're pretty basic but used cleverly.
Incredibly diverse materials used with an astonishing inherent understanding of their physical properties. We can broadly divide them into mineral materials, things like soil, sand, clay, mud, various stones.
Mud seems popular.
Mud is a wonder material in nature. It's wonderfully plastic and moldable when wet, allowing for precise shaping and intricate detailing, and then it hardens into an incredibly durable, almost ceramic-like structure.
And they sometimes mix it with other stuff.
Yes. When mixed with fibrous organic materials like straw or grass, mud gains impressive compressive and tensile strength. The fibers act like rebar, preventing cracking and adding flexibility.
Nature's composites. What about stones?
Animals might primarily use pre-existing stones for simple things like ballast or shelter in natural cavities like caves. Humans have, of course, taken stone use much further, widely carving, shaping, and deforming them for complex, large-scale construction.
Okay, minerals. What about the plant-based stuff?
The organic materials, things like vegetation, grass, sticks, leaves, these are generally more temporary due to decomposition, but they offer an entirely different set of invaluable properties.
Like?
Well, when woven or interlaced, materials like grass or twigs provide exceptional tension resistance. They're strong when pulled, allowing for things like hanging structures. They possess remarkable abilities to hold weight, often surprisingly so. And many also offer excellent thermal insulation and warmth retention. Think of the lining in a bird's nest.
And these organic materials are relevant to sustainable human building too, right?
Hugely relevant. In human biomimicry and sustainable architecture, these natural materials sustainably harvested wood, straw bale construction, bamboo, even unfired earth bricks, which are basically sophisticated mud, are celebrated. Why? Because they often sequester carbon dioxide as they grow, they can naturally regulate indoor humidity, promoting healthier indoor environments, and they generally have a much lower embodied energy than processed materials like steel or concrete. They mirror nature's efficient use of resources.
This is truly where we see direct inspiration hitting home, where nature's genius crosses over explicitly into human design. Let's look at some direct bird-inspired architecture.
Okay, lots of examples there.
Think about the humble bowerbird, famous for its elaborate courtship structures. The bowers. Its actual nest is often hut-like, supported by a carefully shaped soil mound and meticulously built with woven dried sticks and grass for superior insulation, usually featuring just a single strategic opening. Simple but effective.
Then you have the masterful weaverbirds again. Their nests are just intricate marvels of engineering. They create these strong, hanging net structures formed from intricately intertwined twigs or grass stems, often featuring bottom entrances specifically for predator safety.
Makes it harder to get in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these designs are precisely engineered through natural selection to resist powerful winds, harsh climates, torrential rain. They show incredible resilience, all woven from grass.
Amazing. Any others?
We can't forget the unique red oven bird found in South America. It builds a truly distinctive dome-like structure entirely out of mud and clay, sometimes even stacking multiple chambers like a little apartment building.
Made of mud, like adobe.
Very much like adobe, yes. It features an oval opening that cleverly leads to a secret mud partition inside, creating a hidden inner chamber to conceal and protect its eggs and young. This ingenious design provides both superior safety from predators and precise temperature control for development, thanks to the thermal mass of the mud.
It's pure brilliance in its simplicity and material choice. Now, for a truly monumental example of bird-inspired architecture that many listeners will definitely recognize, the Beijing Olympic Stadium.
Ah, the Bird's Nest Stadium, a very direct inspiration.
Absolutely. Its striking roof design directly mimics the organic, seemingly random yet structurally sound intertwining patterns of a complex bird's nest. But instead of twigs, it uses massive, interlinked steel sections.
Right, a huge steel lattice.
And the spaces between the steel members, they're filled with a translucent membrane, ETFE foil, I think, which is remarkably like how birds use soft, pliable fillers like moss, feathers, or soft grass to cover the open spaces within their own nests.
Providing shelter, but letting light filter through.
Exactly. Providing both shelter and subtle diffused light. This colossal design is a testament to achieving structural support, weather resistance, and even principles of sustainability through biomimicry, all directly inspired by a humble avian dwelling.
Moving from individual animal builders like birds to the realm of social animals, beehives offer just a classic example of nature's optimized geometry.
The hexagon?
The hexagon. Their iconic hexagonal structures are universally celebrated by mathematicians, engineers, everyone, for their unparalleled efficiency. They maximize the internal area available for honey storage and rearing young, while minimizing the amount of wax material required for the cell walls, the perimeter. No wasted space.
Nature hates waste.
It seems so. These perfectly interlocking hexagons serve both aesthetic. I mean, they look beautiful and deeply functional purposes. They act as individual cradles for larvae and efficient storage cells for food. And what's more, the wax walls themselves contribute to controlled heat loss, creating a stable, energy-efficient microclimate within the hive.
Temperature control again. Crucial. And then we have the undisputed champions of social engineering.
Ants and termites. Their mounds are truly monumental architectural achievements. Some termite mounds, particularly in Africa and Australia, can reach staggering heights of up to 3 meters, sometimes even more.
Which is absolutely massive relative to the size of the tiny insects that build them, like humans building skyscrapers miles high.
Exactly. But what's truly astonishing, perhaps even more than their sheer scale, are their incredibly sophisticated self-regulating ventilation systems. They maintain a stable internal climate despite huge external temperature swings.
How do they do that? Air conditioning.
Natural air conditioning. They utilize complex principles. One is described as thermosiphon flow, where the porous outer surfaces of the mound and specific tunnel geometries interact with wind, creating pressure differentials that precisely regulate internal air circulation and gas exchange, maintaining stable temperatures and humidity.
Wow. Wind-powered ventilation.
And they also employ induced flow, or stack ventilation. Cool, dense air is drawn in through inlets, usually at the cooler ground level or base of the mound. As this air warms up from the colony's metabolic activity, it naturally rises and is expelled through a central chimney or vents higher up. It's a natural convection process remarkably similar to the stack effect that human architects deliberately design into buildings for passive ventilation.
Termites figured it out millions of years ago,
Yeah.
which brings us to a famous human example, right?
It does. A truly remarkable real-world case study. The Eastgate Center in Harare, Zimbabwe.
What do they do there?
The visionary architect, Mick Pierce, didn't just take vague, abstract inspiration from termites. He directly and meticulously studied and applied the precise principles of termite mound ventilation to the building's design.
He copied the termites?
He learned from the termites. The building ingeniously uses a system of thermal mass, large cavities, and brick chimneys to regulate its internal temperature passively. During the cool night, the building structure cools down. During the day, it draws in relatively cool air, often pre-cooled by passing underground or through shaded areas. And as the internal air warms from people and equipment, it naturally rises and exits through the chimneys at the top.
Just like the termite mound.
Exactly. It maintains stable, comfortable indoor temperatures throughout the year without the need for conventional, energy-intensive air conditioning systems.
And the results? Did it work?
It worked spectacularly. This groundbreaking design achieved an astounding 35% energy savings compared to average, conventionally air-conditioned buildings in Harare's climate. It's a powerful proof of concept that ancient natural solutions can be absolutely cutting edge in terms of modern sustainability and efficiency.
That's truly incredible. Such simple yet profoundly effective nature-inspired solutions leading to massive energy efficiency and a much lighter environmental footprint. It powerfully reiterates just how much animal architecture offers in terms of genuinely remarkable and inherently sustainable solutions for our own built world. We just need to pay attention.
And it's not limited to just these widely recognized examples like the Bird's Nest or Eastgate. Countless other human buildings across the globe draw direct inspiration, sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly, from animals and their structure.
You name a few others.
Sure. Consider the iconic Eden Project in Cornwall, England, with its massive geodesic biomes. Their shape is often compared to soap bubbles or insect eyes, but also has echoes of things like snail shells in its organic form. Or the Glasgow Science Museum in Scotland, which also has shapes subtly inspired by the elegant logarithmic spiral of the snail shell.
Okay, what else?
The SECC Conference Center, also in Glasgow, features overlapping shell-like roof sections often likened to armadillos or turtles. There's the Keenan Tower in Ireland, designed with a woven wooden facade explicitly referencing a bird's nest. The River Restaurant in Switzerland is built into a riverbank, mimicking the form of a beaver's lodge.
A beaver lodge restaurant.
Yeah. The Davies Alpine Greenhouse at Kew Gardens in London uses passive cooling principles partly inspired by termite nests. And even residential buildings, like the Isola apartments in Slovenia, feature facade elements with hexagonal patterns directly referencing the efficiency of a beehive. The list goes on.
It's abundantly clear, then, that these seemingly simple, nature-inspired solutions hold immense value. They don't just provide functional excellence and potential sustainable design principles for human structures.
Although they certainly do that.
They also consistently raise our awareness and appreciation for the profound intelligence, the ingenuity, and the inherent beauty of the natural world that surrounds us, that we're a part of.
So, wrapping this all up, what does this entire deep dive into animal architecture ultimately mean for us? For us, the human animal, arguably the most prolific and certainly the most impactful builders on this planet.
Well, we've journeyed quite a way, haven't we? From the intricate, years-long, learned nest-building behaviors of orangutans
That incredible apprenticeship.
through the surprising evolutionary drivers that shaped why a robin's nest looks different from a wren's.
The open versus domed story.
And finally, landing on how these natural wonders have quite literally provided the blueprints and shaped our own built environment, from our humblest dwellings, maybe mud huts, right up to our grandest stadiums.
And the core takeaway, I think the thread running through it all is this. Animal architecture is far, far more than just a set of pre-programmed instincts.
Definitely not just instinct.
It is a powerful testament to complex cognitive skills, incredible adaptive learning, both individual and social, and an ongoing dynamic dialogue between species and their ever-changing environments.
These structures aren't static things.
Not at all. They are not simply homes or shelters in a passive sense. They are living, breathing examples of ingenious problem-solving, meticulously refined over eons of natural selection, constantly honed by individual experience, and remarkably even influenced by social learning and cultural transmission within their own species. Fashionable yarn in nests.
Right. So the final thought then, as we as humans face our own increasingly complex challenges in design, in resource scarcity, climate change, global sustainability, what profound yet often elegantly simple lessons remain to be fully understood, let alone integrated, from the billions of years of architectural R&D that's been happening all around us in the natural world?
That's the big question. What does the deep intelligence, the precise engineering, the adaptive brilliance evident in something as seemingly simple as a meticulously woven bird's nest, or the incredibly efficient, self-regulating ventilation system of a termite mound? What does that tell us about the very nature of intelligence itself? About design? About resilient problem solving?
Maybe it tells us we need to be more humble and look more closely.
Perhaps. So we encourage you, our listener, next time you're out, maybe look at the nests in your own backyard, or truly observe the structures in your city, the old ones and the new ones, and even consider the design of your own home.
Yeah?
Do it with a newfound appreciation for the silent yet undeniably powerful influence of the animal kingdom's architects. There's genius hidden in plain sight.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.